Hello everyone. Welcome to Shri Jayendra Rank Zone classes. I am your mentor and your friend for the subject biology. I will be dealing with the animal science, means the zoology section. So my dear students, we have started Kingdom Animalia, yet we have covered the basis of classification, phylum Porifera, then Cnidarians, then phylum Ctenophora, then phylum Platyhelminthes. So, in phylum Platyhelminthes, we got to know about the exact organ system level of organization, triploblasty. Now in this phylum, which we are going to start today, that is phylum Nematyhelminthes or phylum Nematoda, also known as SK Helminthes, also known as SK Helminthes. SK Helminthes. Okay, so phylum Nematyhelminthes, or also known as Nematoda or SK Helminthes. A unique journey started as the phylum Platyhelminthes. Gegenberg in 1829, he gave the term Platyhelminthes and make a distinct category for the organisms which are having the flattened body. Okay, same here. Gegenberg in 1859, he proposed the term Nematyhelminthes. Nematyhelminthes, also known as Nematoda. Okay, they are also known as SK Helminthes. Helminthes. Okay, Helminthes. The word Helminthes basically comes from worms. It means worms, right? Now, coming further, Nematoda, they live their life both as parasite as well as freely, means solitary, or they don't depend on any other host organism for their survival. So, Nematoda live both as parasites and free in fresh water, seawater and soil. The term SK Helminthes was proposed by Grobin. Okay, it was proposed by Grobin. The term SK Helminthes was proposed by Grobin. Okay, so we got to know that nematodes, they are round worms. Okay, they are also known as SK Helminthes, proposed by Grobin. They are also known as Nematoda. They are also known as Nematyhelminthes. Okay, so many names. So Nematoda, they live both their life as parasites, means inside a host organism, and freely in fresh water, seawater and soil. Second point says their body is circular. It is cylindrical, means it is circular in cross section. If you cut it, it will appear like this. Okay, circular in cross section, and unsegmented, most important. Unsegmented. Before in the phylum Platyhelminthes, the segments were there, but segments were not similar, and segments were not having any associative function, and that's why they were known as pseudo-metamerism. Pseudo-metamerism means false segmentation. Here there is no segmentation. Okay, body is circular in cross section and they are unsegmented, no segmentation. Body wall is covered by non-living, firm, resistant cuticle. Body wall is basically covered by a non-living and tough or firm resistant cuticle. Okay, this cuticle helps these parasitic worms to pass the GI tract, okay, for the ingestion. Okay, so because for the proper ingestion or ingestion, they need to pass the GI tract, the digestive juices of the GI tract. Okay, one most important feature of phylum Nematyaelminthis, the members of phylum Nematyaelminthis or the nematoda, is that their epidermis is syncytial. Okay, syncytial epidermis means the cells, they are elongated and have multiple nuclei So syncytial means the cells are elongated and have multiple nuclei along with fused cell boundaries, okay, or cell membranes. The fusion of cell membrane can be seen, cannot be seen. It is not a permanent fact that it will be there, but almost. Okay, so body is circular. It is circular in cross section. It is unsegmented, no segments. Now, body is having a cuticle to resist the digestive enzymes or the digestive juices. The body shows a syncytial epidermis, means the cells of the epidermis, they basically have multiple nuclei, multinucleated, and their membranes are fused. And they also have a muscular layer, very important, muscular layer for their movement, as they don't have any cilia or flagella, no locomotory organ is there. Okay, so their locomotory organ is basically derived from the muscle layer. Okay, now most importantly, the body cavity, next point, point 3, body cavity is false, means pseudocoelom. Before it, phylum Platyhelminthes, acoelomate. Okay, sponges, they don't have any coeloms, acoelomate. Cnidarians and ctenophorans, no coelom. Body cavity is started, means it is started to develop, but it is having pseudocoelomic body cavity. Pseudocoelomic body cavity means what? I'll rub this so that I can make you understand the next part. No. The pseudocoelomic means, suppose this is ectoderm, this is the endoderm, and here we find the mesoderm which get splitted mesoderm, and this splitted mesoderm is basically present in the form of middle layer, that is mesoderm. But there is no coelom. There is no coelom in between mesoderm and endoderm. There is no coelom. So that is why it looks like that the body cavity is there, but the body cavity is basically obliterated by these mesodermal cells. We can say body cavity is there, but the fact is it is obliterated, means it is not clearly visible. Okay, it is not clearly visible, right? So that is why it is known as what? False body cavity or pseudocoelomic body cavity. Understood? Is it understood? Yeah. So most important feature, means one of the most important feature of these phylum Nematyaelminthis nematoda, which could take a form of question every year. Sorry, the alimentary canal is complete, means the digestive system is complete. The digestive system is complete with muscular pharynx. So for the very first time, the pharynx means the stomatium, also known as stomatium in the primitive classes, the primitive phylums. Alimentary canal is complete, mouth is developed, and that too, the muscular part of the mouth which will help the passing of the food particles, the prey, okay, to the GI tract is developed, is evolved, is completed, okay. So the alimentary canal is complete with muscular pharynx, as your pharynx basically helps the deglutition of food, okay, from pharynx basically connects the food from mouth and get it and let it enter to the GI tract, okay, means the stomach. Now, skeletal system, respiratory system, circulatory systems, all systems are absent. All systems are absent, okay. Pseudocoelomic cavity, it is filled with a fluid. A pseudocoelomic cavity is filled with a fluid, okay, and because of this, it becomes hydroskeleton, means there is no exo or endoskeleton also in phylum Platyhelminthes or Nematoda, as we have seen in the phylum Platyhelminthes, but there is a hydroskeleton. Hydroskeleton means the cavity is filled with fluid, okay. The cavity is filled with fluid, means the pseudo cavity or the false body cavity, pseudocoelomic cavity is filled with the fluid, which is known as what? Pseudocoelomic fluid, known as pseudocoelomic fluid, right? And this fluid actually helps to transport the materials everywhere around the body, okay. This fluid helps to transport the materials to different parts, okay. So actually pseudocoelomic can be considered as a prototype of the transportory or pigment or a transportory fluid in higher organisms, like we have blood, okay. So basically these phylums, they are actually helping us to understand that connectivity of every single tissue what we are having today is basically arising from these ages, okay, means these phylums, okay, understood. So most importantly, you have to remember that they have a cuticle on the outer layer, okay. Then they have syncytial epidermis, means it is having multinucleated stage, okay. The epidermal cells, they are multinucleated, okay, means the cell membranes are fused, they are multinucleated, and the nuclei are scattered here and there, right, and they have muscular layer, okay. So I'll do one thing, the important ones I will highlight, okay, understood, and if needed I will write, right, okay. So the skeletal system, the respiratory system, so these are the important ones, means the cuticle one, this cuticle one, epidermis, okay. Pseudocoelom means the coelom, the cavity is obliterated, it is not having any space, okay, because it is filled with the mesodermal cells, gets obliterated, okay. Now alimentary canal is complete and muscular pharynx is also evolved. So the very first time they have muscular pharynx, okay. For the very first time they have muscular pharynx. So they don't have skeletal, respiratory and circulatory system, mean these systems are absent, and the pseudocoelomic cavity, it helps in the transportation of the materials to all the body parts. This condition is known as what? Hydroskeleton. Hydroskeleton, okay. Now a question, which among the following have hydroskeleton? Which among the following they show hydroskeleton? Platyhelminthes, yeah, Platyhelminthes, they do have hydroskeleton, okay. Nematoda, they also have hydroskeleton, means the answer will be both. But sir, in Platyhelminthes, they were acoelomate, they don't have any coelom, neither they were having any coelomic fluid. So how they can have hydroskeleton if they don't have fluid? They have fluid, but that fluid is not a part of some coelomic or pseudocoelomic cavity. Okay, means their fluid is basically a part of parenchyma, which basically is the basis of their middle layer, the middle layer, mesoderm, parenchyma. Okay, so in case of platyhelminthes, it is the hydroskeleton which derive from parenchymal cells in case of platyhelminthes. And in case of SK helminthes or nematoda, the hydroskeleton, it is a part of pseudocoelomic cavity. Okay. Now coming to next, difference between hydroskeleton of platyhelminthes and nematoda I have already explained to you. Excretory system. Excretory system is developed. Why? Why the reason excretory system is developed in phylum Platyhelminthes and phylum Nematyhelminthes, while the other organs, why there is no need to develop them. Okay, so excretory system is developed because the reason is mostly of these worms, they are parasite, and these parasitic worms, they need to have the digested food, they have to absorb. So along with the digested food, they would be getting all the metabolic waste materials as well, and that is why the excretory system should be developed, okay, to eliminate the waste materials, because they are, if they are basically feeding on the digested matter, means they don't have to work more, they are just enjoying, everything is given to them, served to them, they are just enjoying. Okay, so that is why they can become lethargic, they can become lazy, as of when you are watching a T20 World Cup, okay, with a bowl of popcorn in your hand. Okay, so that phase, that sense of comfort can also be experienced by these, okay, nematodons, round worms. Okay, that is why the excretory system need to be developed. Okay, consists of gland cells. The excretory system consists of gland cells, okay, or canals. Means the excretory system, it is consisting of the gland cells or canals, or maybe both, means gland cells as well as canals. Ascaris have a specific rennet cell, okay, RENETTE, rennet cell. Ascaris, it is having a H-shaped rennet cell, it is a H-shaped cell like this, H-shaped, right? So also known as Ascaris have a H-shaped excretory cell or a system of canals, rennet cells, also known as giant cells, right? Ammonia is considered to be the major excretory waste. Okay, but in case of Ascaris, urea is also excreted along with ammonia. Okay, so in Ascaris, the urea is the excretory waste, and except Ascaris, the excretory waste is ammonia. Okay, so in this slide, I hope everything is clear. We will just start with that. Grobin, he gave the term SK helminthes. Gegenber in 1859, he proposed the term Nematyhelminthes to the organisms of this family. Nematodes, they can live their life both in parasitic forms and in a free form in fresh water or a sea water or soil as well. Body is circular in cross section and it is unsegmented. There are no segments. Body is circular in cross section. Means they have, or they should have, bilateral symmetry, and they have cylindrical body. Okay, body wall is covered by a cuticle which will provide the resistance to them towards the digestive juices, and the epidermis is syncytial, means a stretch of cells, the cell membranes are fused, they have multiple nuclei and scattered everywhere. Okay, so essential means a kind of unorganized picture. Okay, that you are basically taking a view, you are just in front of some great view. Okay, now you just saw things scattered here and there. So the syncytial epidermis is like that. Nucleus is scattered here and there. There is no boundary to separate two nucleus of two different cells. Okay, and they have muscular layer. Okay, the muscular layer helps in locomotion, helps in capturing of food, helps in taking food inside. Okay, body cavity is false, means it is pseudocoelomic. Okay, pseudocoelomic means the cavity is obliterated by the mesodermal cells. Alimentary canal is complete with muscular pharynx. Alimentary canal is complete with muscular pharynx. Okay, for the very first time muscular pharynx developed in this phylum only. Then skeletal system, respiratory system, circulatory systems or systems are absent. Pseudocoelomic fluid, it helps in the transportation. It is necessary for the hydroskeleton framework. Hydroskeleton framework is also found in phylum Platyhelminthes, but there it was actually made up of the parenchymal cells, which were the part of the mesoderm. Okay, then excretory system is basically having gland cells or canals. In case of Ascaris, it is the rennet cell or the giant cell which serves as the excretory system. Okay, all nematodes, they have their excretory waste as ammonia, except Ascaris, it is having urea as its excretory waste. So my dear students, we will be moving to the next slide. Yeah, this is the transverse section of Ascaris. Okay, means I have taken a transverse section in which you can see the outer ring, right? This outer ring gives them a cross-sectional appearance, Okay, this outer ring, this outer ring, it is giving them the cross-sectional appearance, right? Now you can see that at this cross-sectional ring is basically giving rise to ventral nerve and dorsal nerve. Means at the front side and at the back side. So the nerves, they are basically getting distinguished on both the sides, means at the front as well as at the back. So this phenomenon of basically giving the nerves both on back side and at the front side is known as what? Circumpharyngeal ring. So we can see the nerve fibers, the nerves, okay, they are basically arranging themselves, okay, they are basically arranging themselves both at the front side and at the back side, front side and at the back side. Okay, this is back side. Understood? So this phenomenon of making a circular nerve, okay, mesh of networks of nerves having a circular appearance, giving a circular appearance is known as what? Circumpharyngeal ring. Okay. Now this circumpharyngeal ring, basically it is having pharynx, or we can say the mouth, okay, or we can say the part which will help in the ingestion of food. Okay. So basically speaking, frankly speaking, the circumpharyngeal ring, it is basically having each and everything. Okay, it represents each and everything. Okay, so circumpharyngeal ring, it represents the intestines. You can see intestines, intestinal epithelium or intestinal lumen. Okay, pseudocoelom, this is the pseudocoelomic cavity. This all is pseudocoelomic cavity. Okay, pseudocoelomic cavity. Okay, this is pseudocoelomic cavity. Pseudocoelomic, right? Then we have the muscular cells. Okay, the body wall, it is having cuticle, it is having syncytium, it is having muscle cell. Okay, you can see the body wall. The cuticle is this is the cuticle. Then we have epidermal syncytium here. The cells are scattered with cytoplasm and nuclei, and the muscle cell. Okay, then we can see the ovary here. Okay, excretory canal. Okay, excretory canal or the excretory system, that is the glands, lateral epidermal cord. Okay, this is also the lateral epidermal cord, oviducts, eggs, uterus. Okay, this is uterus, this is eggs, this is blastocoelom. Okay, so you can see in case of transverse section of Ascaris, the body is somewhat organized. Okay, means at the front and the back we are having the nerve fibers running. Okay, then we have the the pseudocoelom. The arrangement of organs, different organs, is briefly explained, beautifully explained to you. Okay, with the help of this diagram. Okay, so you can see that these members of phylum Nematihelminthes or Nematoda, or we can say Ascaris, it is having a cross sectional appearance, and there is a circumpharyngeal ring, you can see, means at the ventral side and at the dorsal side. Okay, which is basically forming the nerve fibers, and these nerve fibers are going here and there, right? They are cylindrical. Okay, means they are tubular in appearance, and they basically shows a great diversification in comparison to the previous phylum, especially the phylum Cnidarians, phylum Ctenophora. Means you can see the how much the this phylum, the member of the phylum, the Ascaris, is organized. Okay, with their body parts, with their body organs, as they have organ system level of organization. Okay, so now you have to take a look on the rennet cell, the H cell. You can see it is making a basically a H shaped. Okay, it is a weird kind of H. Okay, no shoes. So you can see it is having two parts, the anterior canal. Okay, and these are the posterior ones. Okay, so these are the posterior canals, these are the anterior canals. Then we have a common canal for both posterior and anterior. Then we have a excretory pore out here. Okay, and we have nucleus, right? So it is somewhat, you can say that the flame cells in phylum Platyhelminthes, Protonephridia, and rennet cell in case of phylum Nematihelminthes. Okay, so very important question, that which, or the rennet cell is a characteristic feature of which phylum? A question comes like this way. Okay, so a rennet cell comes as a feature of which phylum? 2011 AIPMT. Okay, 2008 AMU exams, AFMC exams. Okay, then you have to basically put all these important stuffs on your fingertips. They should be on tongue tips every and then. Okay, so moving further, these are the rennet cells, the H-shaped organs, excretory organs. I have explained you, although short explanation is not required about the circumpharyngeal ring and the TS of Ascaris, but yet you can just have a outlook. Now your picture is clear that how things are arranged. Okay, now coming to next slide. rennet cell are chiefly found in, yeah, I was just waiting for, okay, found in. Then Ascaris, the answer is Ascaris, phylum Nematoda. Circumpharyngeal ring is associated with Ascaris, phylum Nematoda. Laurel's canal is a prototype of which organ? Laurel's canal is a prototype of which organ? See, Laurel's canal is found in platyhelminthes, and it represents a combination of the urinogenital tract. Urinogenital tract means a tract through which the urine as well as the secretion of the gametes takes place. So it can be considered as a prototype of vagina in case of platyhelminths, okay, or the flat forms. So Laurel's canal is a prototype of which organ? Vagina. It is found in platyhelminths. Now, along with it, Mahel's gland, they help in the secretion of a lubricant which basically helps, okay, for the passage, okay. So Mahel's gland, they lubricate the passage, okay, and they are present in the female reproductive system. It means Mahel's gland basically lubricate the reproductive passage of the female reproductive systems, the gonopores, okay. So these Mahel's gland, they basically lubricate the reproductive tract so that a easy sexual intercourse can be achieved, okay. Now, okay, it's a very good question, Laurel's canal and Mahel's gland, okay. Now, most importantly, the sense organs, in case of phylum Platyhelminthes, sense organs are very much developed. They are very much developed. Okay. So, papillae means lips on the anterior side of both male and female. Anterior side means, if I will draw like this, so this is the anterior side. So it is having the papillae or the lips. Okay. It is present on both male and female, and it is also present and behind the cloacal aperture. Okay. Suppose this is the cloacal aperture, so it is present at the front and at the back as well. Okay. Okay, understood? If this is the cloacal aperture, then it is present at the front as well as at the back. The papillae. The papillae are the lips on the anterior side of both male and female, and also in the front and behind of cloacal aperture. The main function of papillae is tactile function, means they are responsive towards touch. Right? So papillae, they have tactile in function, they are responsive towards touch. Understood? Now, amphids are also known as pits. They are present on the lips, means the papillae, and they are chemoreceptors, means they are basically having a responsiveness towards chemicals. Now these chemicals released, they can act as an attractant for the male and female to have a sexual intercourse, or they can be a secretion which helps to understand the prey, okay, prey or an enemy. So these chemoreceptors, they helps to better understand the different members of phylum Nematoda. Then phasmids are the unicellular glands. You have to underline this, important. Phasmids, okay, just a minute. So phasmids, they are unicellular glands. Okay, understood? Phasmids are unicellular glands. Papillae are tactile in function. Amphids are also known as pits, and they are chemoreceptors. Okay, so phasmids are unicellular glands. They are located on the lateral sides of posterior end, and they are glandulosensory. Okay, so three things you have to remember. That is, first, the papillae, which are on the anterior side of both male and female, and on the front and back of cloacal aperture. They are tactile in function. Amphids, they are pits, they are chemoreceptors, and phasmids, they are unicellular glands, okay, and they act as glandulosensory organs, okay, means the glands, okay. Now, they are dioecious. Dioecious means they show sexual dimorphism, means the male and female, they are on different bodies. Male and female, they are on different bodies. So they are dioecious. Monoecious means was bisexual, and they are unisexual. They are unisexual, right? Unisexual. They show sexual dimorphism. Sexual dimorphism means male and female on different body, okay? Now, the asexual reproduction is absent. Now, this is to be underlined. That asexual reproduction is absent. Asexual reproduction is absent. This is to be underlined. Asexual reproduction is absent. Understood? Asexual reproduction is absent. Okay? Internal fertilization. Fertilization is internal. Okay? Fertilization is internal. Asexual reproduction is absent. And they show sexual dimorphism or the dioecious nature. Okay, is it understood? Yeah. Now coming to next, development may be direct or indirect depending on the larva. And the most important thing in case of phylum Eschalimenthes or the nematoda, the larva, it undergoes multiple molding. Okay, means at different stages the larva undergoes the molding and it forms a mold, means it gets developed, it changes. Okay, so around 4 molds usually are seen in case of the life cycle of Ascaris lumbricoids in case of humans. So I will be telling that as well. Now you have to just register that larva is there, which will be the cause of indirect development. And if the larva is there, it will undergo multiple molding, means changes. Okay. Filiform larva is present in ankylostoma. Ankylostoma is a hookworm. Okay. Hookworm means if you can see the cross section of his mouth, it represents hook like this. Hookworm. Okay, so ankylostoma hookworm, it is having filiform larva. So filiform larva, ankylostoma. Okay, filiform larva, ankylostoma. Ankylostoma also known as hookworm. Then microfilaria larva. Microfilaria larva is a characteristic of Vaucheria bronchofti. Vaucheria bancrofti is basically responsible for filariasis, means elephantiasis. So microfilaria is a larva of Vaucheria, and rabbitiform larva is present in Ascaris. Rabbitiform larva is present in Ascaris, and Enterobius. Enterobius is known as what? Pinworm. So in this phylum, in the previous phylum as well, you have to remember the common names. Okay, the names which are given to them. Okay, like hookworm, ankylostoma, pinworm, Enterobius. Ascaris do have a common name, that is I'll rub this. Ascaris is also given a a common name, that is the giant worm, the giant intestinal roundworm. Okay, so Ascaris is also given a name giant intestinal roundworm. Okay, now Enterobius pinworm. Muscular layer, muscles were present. You have seen in the cross section the muscles were present, but they were only longitudinal muscles, means there is no circular muscle. There is no circular muscles, only longitudinal muscle fibers are present. Okay, so I think everything is clear. We will be moving to the next slide now. The main catch of this slide is the papillae, tactile in function, amphids, they are chemoreceptors, and phasmids, they are glandulosecretory, glandulosensory. Okay, then asexual reproduction is absent, they show sexual dimorphism. Okay, means dioecious. Okay, now the name of the larva: filiform larva, ankylostoma, microfilaria larva, Vaucheria, and the rabidiform larva in Ascaris and Enterobius. Okay, now next classification. Class 1, Aphasmidia. Aphasmidia means phasmids are absent. As the name suggests, Aphasmidia means the phasmids are absent, right? The phasmids are absent. Amphids are of various types. Phasmids are absent, but amphids are of various types. What are amphids? Amphids were the pits which were chemoreceptors, okay, and the phasmids, they were glandulosensory in function. You remember? Yeah. So the aphasmidia means phasmids are absent and amphids are of various types. Okay, no need to register the types. Okay, example: Trichinella trichoaris means the trichinella worm. Trichuria, that is the whipworm. Okay, so you just have to remember the name. Okay, the T square means the trichinella and trichuria, the T square. Okay, trichinella and trichuria, they belong to the class 1, that is Aphasmidia. Aphasmidia means phasmids are absent. Phasmids are absent. Aphasmidia, phasmids are absent. Then what is present? Amphids are present. Amphids are present. Example: T square, trichinella, trichuria. Okay. Then class 2, Phasmidia. Phasmidia means phasmids are present on hind end. Hind end means, see, you are also having two parts or two projections. One is the fore and the other one is hind. The fore limbs, hind limbs. Hind limbs means towards the lower body parts. Okay. So phasmids are present on the hind end of the body. Amphids are present near the anterior end. So if this is the worm, so at the back we are having the phasmids P, and at the front we are having the amphids. Okay, at the anterior end. So amphids are present on the anterior end. So amphids anterior, phasmids posterior. That's simple. Phasmids P for P, phasmids posterior, A for A, obviously A for apple. Okay, so amphids anterior, phasmids posterior. Okay, example: Ascaris. Example is Ascaris. Okay, or the Enterobius. Enterobius is the pinworm. Then Ankylostoma, hookworm. Vaucheria, filaria worm. Okay, so class 1 Aphasmidia, class 2 Phasmidia. Class 1 Aphasmidia means phasmids are absent, amphids are present and of various types, trichinella and trichuria. Then class 2 Phasmidia, phasmids are present on the posterior side, amphids are present on the anterior side. Okay, example: Ascaris, hookworm, pinworm, filaria worm. Then Rabitus. Rabitus, basically it includes a free living or a semi-parasitic form. Rabiditis is basically a free living or a semi-parasitic form. Rabiditis menopausae lives in soil and it is having a copulatory bursa at posterior end. Copulatory bursa at posterior end means this is the remarkable feature of rabidiform larva, or we can say the R menopausae, sorry, hormone menopausae, means the copulatory bursa, it is considered to be the characteristic form of this, group, R. menopausae, okay, or rabbitets. So, and the most important thing that all these rhabditis, yeah, it's fine. Rhabditis, it includes free living or semi-parasitic forms. Okay. Now, the giant intestinal roundworm, the term is given to Ascaris, obviously. Okay, we actually are doing now questions. All India PMT, All India Pre-Medical Entrance Examination 2010. And the answer we know, Ascaris. Okay. So yeah, it's working. So Ascaris lumbricoides, it is an endoparasite with no secondary host. No secondary host generally, but sometimes it can have the secondary host, but it depends. Rarely it happens. So Ascaris lumbricoides, it is an endoparasite with no secondary host. Mouth of Ascaris is bounded by 3 lips, most importantly. The mouth of Ascaris is bounded by 3 lips. One is dorsal and 2 ventrolateral. Means, I'll rub this and I'll make a figure. What ventrolateral means what? Dorsal means at the back. So at the back it is having a 1 lip. Suppose this is 1 lip. Okay. And ventrolateral. So these are ventrolateral. This is ventrolateral. Okay. Ventral means towards front and towards the lateral side as well. Okay. So ventrolateral. This is the dorsal. Right. So dorsal and ventrolateral. So 1 lip at the dorsal and 2 at the ventrolateral. Then dorsal lip bears 2 double papillae. Papillae means tactile in function. Tactile in function means responsive towards the touch, pressure. The dorsal lip bears 2 papillae. Okay. Ventrolateral lips bears 1 double papillae. Means the dorsal lip, it is having 2 double papillae. Double papillae means a papillae in which there are 2 layers or 2 circular layers are arranged. Okay. So dorsal lip bears 2 double papillae and ventrolateral lips, it bears 1 double papillae and 1 simple lateral papillae and a amphid. Okay. So ventrolateral lips, it is having 1 double papilla, then 1 simple lateral papillae, 1 simple lateral papillae, and the third one is amphid. Okay. Now coming to next. Okay, AFMC Arm 4 Medical Services, the exam 2004. Papillae are sensitive towards tactile in function. You can see now you are able to solve the questions. Tactile function. Okay. Amphids show which type of neurofunction? Very important. Amphids show which type of neurofunction? Chemoreception. AMU 2005, Aligarh Muslim University. Chemoreception. Right? So these are some important terms and the important questions too, my dear friends. Important questions too. Please log these questions in your brain. Okay. So the Ascaris, it is having 1 dorsal and 2 ventrolateral lips. The dorsal lip, it is having 2 double papillae, and the ventrolateral lip is having 1 double papillae, 1 simple lateral papillae, and 1 amphid. Okay, understood? Okay. Now we are moving to the next slide. These are the anatomical difference between male and female as a very important and frequently been asked question. Okay. The sexual dimorphism, you can see the male and female on the same, not on the same body, on the different body, sorry. So you can see the female is basically longer than male. Okay. So the body of female is a longer, 20 to 40 centimeters. Okay. The body of male is smaller, 15 to 13 centimeters. In male, the tail is curved ventrally. Okay. Means towards front, ventral means front, towards front, it is basically curving, showing a curvature. Okay. So this is the curvature which is a characteristic feature of male. Okay. In case of female, the tail is straight. It is straight. Okay, this is F for female, M for male. Okay. Anus and genital pore are common. In case of males, the anus and genital pore are common. Okay. A cloacal aperture is present. A cloacal aperture is present. This is the cloacal aperture. Cloacal aperture is present. In case of female, the anus and the genital pore are separate. This is anus. This is anus. Okay. And the genital pore are separate. Genital pore mid-ventral at about 1/3 of the body. Female gonopore. Okay. So genital pore mid-ventral at about 1/3 of the body. 1/3 of the body. 1/3 of the body. Then a pair of needle-like penile setae in cloaca. Penile setae or spicules are present for making the external genital tract, so that this genital tract can be passed on in the reproductive tract or the external genitalia of a female. Okay, so that is why it is having a projection. Okay, so penile setae or spicules, okay, they are the needle-like penile setae or spicules in cloaca in males. No penile setae in case of females. Okay, then preanal and postanal papillae present to help in copulation. Preanal and postanal papillae, they help to actually have a great sense of touch response, especially during the copulation. In female, there are no such papillae. So these are the examples, the diagrams shown, and especially the difference between male and female. Right now, coming next, you can see this picture, the clip C, which is having the dorsal lip and the ventrolateral lips, as I have made for you in the previous slide. Okay, so you can see the dorsal lip, it is having broad papillae, the double papillae. Okay, one papillae layer is inside and one papillae layer is outside. Just like you can see, I can give you example of a lotus flower or a rose flower, in which the concentric layers of petals are there, okay, in the same way. Okay, and the ventrolateral lips or the lateroventral lips, the papillae, one papillae is double, it is double, and one papillae is simple, and one papillae is simple, right? Along with that, it is having ampulls, right? So is that understood? You can see the cloacal aperture. This is the cloacal aperture. Postanal papillae, preanal papillae. Okay, postanal papillae and preanal papillae. When before cloacal aperture were preanal papillae, and after the cloacal aperture is postanal papillae. Okay, is that understood? So before cloacal aperture preanal, and after cloacal aperture postanal. Okay, so cloaca, penile setae, they are the remarkable features of male roundworm, and female, it is not having any penile setae, it is not having any papilla. Okay, now I hope is everything understood. Now moving to the next slide. Economic importance. Ascaris, the giant intestinal roundworm, it causes the disease ascariasis. It is an endoparasite of intestine, especially in humans. Humans are the only host, okay, when there is no secondary host. Large number of Ascaris worms, they actually are produced and they obstruct the intestinal passage. They obstruct the intestinal passage. After being the obstruction of intestinal passage, the intestine undergoes swelling, along with the swelling of lymph nodes, along with the swelling of liver. Okay, so the remarkable features are intestinal swelling, plus lymphadenopathy, means swelling of lymph nodes, okay, along with intestinal perforation. Then abdominal pain, okay, vomiting, everything is, they are the common symptoms. Okay, in case of children's, if Ascaris, and ascariasis is a general infection of children's only, so if it infects children's, then it can cause mental retard, means it can compromise the mental growth and it can lead to retarded mental development. Okay, now coming to next, we are having ankylostomiasis, that is which is caused by the hookworm ankylostoma. It is caused by Ankylostoma duodenale hookworm, which live as endoparasite in small intestine of human beings. Endoparasite as in the small intestine of human beings. Then we have elephantiasis or filariasis. Elephantiasis or filariasis, it is caused by Vaucheria bancrofti, which lives as an endoparasite in lymphatic vessels and lymph nodes. So basically the target organ of lymphatiasis or filariasis, that is Vaucheria bancrofti, is basically the lymphatic vessels or lymph nodes of human beings, primary host. Culex mosquito of certain species, certain genus, they are the intermediate host. Culex mosquito. Okay, so it is a digenetic parasite, means viviparous. Okay, viviparous. The reason viviparous I am saying, because the causative agent of filaria, means Vaucheria bancrofti, it is basically passing from two hosts. Okay, means one is the primary host, that is human beings, and the second is the Culex mosquito. That is why it is known as what? Digenetic. And viviparous means it directly lay to the development of a young one. Okay, not an egg. Okay, that is why it is considered as viviparous. No egg sheddings. Adults develop in lymphatic system into adults, mean in the lymphatic system, the eggs, they actually develop into the, not the eggs, the adults develop into the adult, because it is viviparous, and their accumulation causes blockage in lymphatic system. Okay, numerous worms, they get block the lymphatic system, the lymphatic vessels, which will cause the again swelling of lymph nodes, that is lymphadenopathy and lymphadenitis. PH adenitis means inflammation and swelling. This is adenitis. Tis means inflammation and lymphadenopathy is the swelling. Okay, then Enterobius auxurius, the pinworm. Enterobius is also known as auxurius. It is the pinworm which is found in cecum, colon and appendix. Okay, cecum, colon and appendix means you can say the large intestine. Okay, its life cycle is monogenetic. Okay, means no secondary host. Okay, so Enterobius means auxurius, the pinworm. It is found in cecum, colon and or appendix, vermiform appendix. Okay, then Trichinella means the trichinella worm. Trichinella spiralis is found in small intestine of human beings and some other mammals as well, like pig, rodents. Its encysted larva, now this is to be underlined. Encysted larva are present in the stripped muscle of host. This is to be understood. Okay, encysted larva. Okay, now in the above, there is no actual that. This is digenetic. Okay, because human beings the primary host and Culex mosquito the intermediate host. Okay, now coming next, it is viviparous. That is okay, understood. It is viviparous. Okay, now Drenunculus the guinea worm, it occurs in the subcutaneous tissue just below the skin. When a host comes in contact with cold water, especially I am going to talk about, or it is basically related, the organisms which are directly in contact with water every time. Okay, so when the host comes in contact with cold water, the female worm below the skin releases the larva. The moment female worm, it releases the larva if the host comes in contact with cold water. The larva penetrate a body of cyclops, means cyclops, they are freshwater crustaceans, means orthopodans, insects. Okay, so the larva penetrates the body of cyclops, that is a freshwater crustacean, which act as a secondary host. So this is also digenetic. So the guinea worm, the filaria worm, they both are digenetic. Okay. So you understood? Ranunculus, the guinea worm, it occurs in the subcutaneous tissue below the skin, and when the organism or the animal comes in contact with the cold water, the female of that worm will release the larva, and the larva penetrate the body of Cyclops. Okay, understood? Trichuris means, which is the whipworm. Trichuria lives in cecum, colon and appendix of colon and man, especially children. Okay, so Trichinella is different, Trichuris is different. Please remember these two terms. Trichinella is Trichynia worm and Trichuris is the whipworm. Okay, so it is found in the cecum, colon, appendix and in the large intestinal parts, especially it infects children. Then Loa, it is the eye worm. Okay, it lives in subdermal connective tissue of men and baboons, and it mainly affects the eye. Okay, the man gets infected by a bite of deer fly, means it is also digenetic. Okay, and deer fly, and it leads to chrysops. Chrysops means caliber swelling. Okay, means the swelling around the eye. Okay, so the common names which you have to remember is the filaria worm, that is Vaucheria bronchocti, then Antrobius, also known as Oxyureus, Trichinella, the Trichynia worm, Trichuris, whipworm, Ranunculus, guinea worm. Okay, and Loa, the eye worm. Okay, caliber swelling, eye worm. Loa, okay, means the swelling around the eye. Okay, digenetic, eye worm, Loa, digenetic. Then Vaucheria, digenetic, means filaria, digenetic. Okay, they are digenetic. Then Ranunculus, the guinea worm, also digenetic. Okay, is that understood? I hope everything is going fine. We'll move to the next slide. These are different parasitic worms. Okay, just to show you the picture that how their body parts are highly developed, especially the buccal capsules, the spicules. Okay, this is the copulatory bursa which I am talking about. Okay, the spiralis you have seen, na? Spiralis. This is the copulatory bursa. Okay, Trichinella spiralis, the Trichynia worm. Okay, now this is the microfilaria larva, which is the characteristic of Vaucheria, means the elephantiasis. Okay, this is Trichinella spiralis. Loa, this is the eye worm. Loa, this is the eye worm. Okay, now life cycle of Ascaris in humans, it needed actually to discuss. Okay, the main thing you have to remember, I'll just making a chart, okay, along with it, which will help you. See, the life cycle of Ascaris actually starts from the fertilized eggs. The eggs, which are eggs, these fertilized eggs. Okay, so the life cycle starts from the adults in small intestine. Okay, adults, they were in small intestine. Now the adults in small intestine, they will get they get fertilized after production of gametes. Okay, the ovum sperm, they will form gamete, and these gametes, they will fertilize to form fertilized eggs. Only fertilized egg can be a part of infective stage. The unfertilized egg will not undergo any further development. That is why it will not be infective. So the journey starts from the fertilized egg. Understood? This fertilized egg enters, okay, or this fertilized egg, it basically comes out with the feces, means the stools, and the first juvenile stage in the egg itself, in egg, okay, also known as the rabidiform larva. Rabidiform larva. Okay. This is the first mold. You remember I told you about different molds. This is the first mold. Okay, rabidiform larva. Then it is converted into the second juvenile stage. Second juvenile stage, also called embryonated egg. This second juvenile stage is the infective juvenile stage, okay, in the egg, and also known as embryonated egg. Understood? Okay. So the first juvenile stage, which is the first mold, which will form the rabidiform larva inside the egg. Then second juvenile stage, which will form the which is embryonated egg. Okay, or it is the second juvenile stage, means the infective stage. Infective. Okay. Then these embryonated eggs. Okay, now fertilized. Now it is getting developed. So these embryonated eggs, they basically are swallowed by men in the form of contaminated food and water. And the second stage juvenile free larva, okay, it gets free in the human intestine. The second stage juvenile larva, means the embryonated egg, it comes inside the human, because the human, they have taken it with the help of food, the ingestion of embryonated eggs. Okay. Now these eggs, they bypass through the human digestive system and they become free in human intestines. After being a part of intestine, it will be passed through the blood capillaries. It will create pores in the intestinal wall and it will pass into the blood capillaries. From blood capillaries, it will pass to the portal system, means the hepatic portal vein, the liver, the hepatic vein, and the posterior vena cava. So basically, it first comes to intestine. From intestine, it moves to the hepatic portal system, hepatic portal vein. Then here it goes to liver. From liver, it goes to hepatic vein. From hepatic vein, it goes to posterior vena cava. Okay, then heart. From heart, it enters through pulmonary artery. From pulmonary artery, it enters into lungs. Okay. In lungs, especially in alveoli, the second molding takes place. So in lungs, if I am having a blank slide. Okay. So in lungs, the second molding takes place. So second molding, basically the second stage juvenile larva will be converted into third stage. The second stage juvenile larva will be converted into third stage. Okay. Now, in the lung alveoli, frequently the third molding also takes place. And because of its third molding, the third stage juvenile larva, it will be converted to the fourth stage juvenile larva, and it enters the bronchioles. Okay. This larva then pass through trachea, pharynx, esophagus, and stomach. Again, intestine. Intestine, it again, when it recapitulates this whole cycle and when it comes back to intestine, now the fourth mold. Now this fourth mold basically to produce young worms. Young worms means the adult worm. This adult worm basically produces what? The spova and the sperm, and it will lead to the fertilization. Okay. So this is the life cycle of female Ascaris, the Ascaris swarm, Ascaris lumbricoids in case of humans. I'll tell you once again. The fertilized egg means actually the journey is ending and starting here only. The fertilized egg, they come out in the form of feces and they form the first juvenile stage. The first juvenile stage is basically the rabidiform larva in the egg. Then it is converted to the second juvenile stage, which is the infective stage. Okay, they are also known as embryonated eggs. The embryonated eggs, they come out in the form of feces and they will be ingested, not feces, they will be ingested, okay, inside humans by the contaminated food and water, and they will go to intestine. They will bypass everything and they will go to intestine. From intestine, they will pore the intestinal wall, they will create pores and they will enter the hepatic portal vein. From hepatic portal vein, they will enter liver, from liver to hepatic vein, from hepatic vein to posterior vena cava, from posterior vena cava to heart, from heart they are basically entering to pulmonary artery, and from pulmonary artery to lungs. Okay, after that, inside lungs, the second molding takes place. First molding was just after the fertilized egg come out in the form of feces, means the rabidiform larva is the part of first mold. In lungs, second molding takes place, means the second juvenile stage will be converted into third juvenile. Then third molding, third juvenile will be converted into fourth juvenile. Fourth juvenile enters the bronchioles. Bronchioles से कहाँ जाता है? Trachea, and from trachea it goes to pharynx, from pharynx to esophagus, from esophagus to stomach, and then intestine. So intestine, they are having the fourth mold stage. So friends, I can expect everything is understood. Even then, if is there any problem, we'll discuss in the next turn. Okay, I will be recapitulating this life cycle again because it needs the recapitulation again and again in coming lectures. So till then, take care, bye bye, stay safe, stay blessed.